everybody, and welcome to my July wrap-up and August TBR video. I know I've been on hiatus for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, because I finished summer semester. I had to finish that, so I put all my videos on the back burner for my finals, and then after finals I was so wiped out that I've literally been doing nothing but sleeping or going to work. So I'm trying to break that habit today by telling you guys what I read, because I finished a total of 9 books during the month of July, which is miraculous because lately my monthly average has been maybe 3 books. So I have to do a big shout out to the Booktubeathon and Ariel Bassett and everybody who supported the Booktubeathon, and then also the Summer Biannual Bibliothon squad, because they really kept me motivated to read and I made a lot of videos. I completed 3 of the Biannual Bibliothon video challenges, and I did 6 of the Booktubeathon video challenges, except I only posted 5 of those video challenges because I missed the deadline for 1 day. And so I wanted to tell y'all my total page count during just that 8-day readathon week. And I read a total of 1,476 pages. I had to adjust some numbers because of when the actual book started versus the end page, and then I also had to sadly take off a couple pages because my copy of Matilda had 6 pages ripped out of it. So with that quick update, we are going to talk about all the books I read in July, starting with the first book I finished. And that happens to be The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh, and I have a bit of an unpopular opinion on this book because, don't get me wrong, I love the writing style, I love the overall running scheme of the plot. It is a retelling of 1001 Nights, and I was so in love with that idea. However, there's a certain plot aspect that gets revealed to you about a quarter to 30% of the way in the book. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't read it, but basically that revelation has completely tarnished and trashed my appraisal of the story, that I can't exactly give it a good rating because it does not sit well with me. I am giving it a 3 out of 5. If you want to talk about it with me down below in the comments, I am welcome to do so. The next book I finished was Shadow Study, which is book 1 in the Soul Finder trilogy by Maria V. Snyder. This is a continuation of the study series, and I have to say I seriously love Maria V. Snyder's writing and just the world she created. I still really love Yelena and Valak's story, and just revisiting it and seeing that it gets a new trilogy just really makes me happy. And so I definitely am giving Shadow Study a 4 out of 5. The only reason why it doesn't get higher than that is because the more I read her writing, the more I'm just getting a little ticked off with how every chapter ends at a cliffhanger. And they switch point of views to a different character, so I can't relieve that cliffhanger until I read further on in the story. Then the next book I picked up was Replica by Lauren Oliver, and I had intended on finishing this book before the 8 days of readathon madness, but it did not happen. I only got about 5% of the way into it, and so I ended up finishing it during the first 2 days of those 8 days, and I have to say I really enjoy the Replica book series and the plot synopsis and everything like that. It was really great to kind of be in the mindset of these 2 radically different but similar girls. The thing is, though, I really loved Lyra's point of view, but I just got sick and tired of Gemma's point of view. She was constantly berating her appearance and how she was chubby and fat. And it was fine for the first few chapters, but it was the entire book point of view of her. Just the whole time, she didn't seem like she was quite in the story with what was going on with the main plot points, and that was why I was just not really excited about her point of view as I was with Lyra's point of view. And so I am giving this a 3.5 out of 5. And the next book I read is the graphic novel Mind the Gap, which is the volume 1 of the Intimate Strangers series by Jim McCann. This is about a girl who gets basically thrown down the stairs in an attempt to kill her, and so now she has absolutely no memories of what happened previously, and she's stuck in this coma state where she's the specter of a spirit trying to figure out who's trying to kill her and the grand scheme of her life. This brings up a lot of just characters and their motivations and how everybody is intertwined, and it gets really convoluted, and I really enjoyed it, but I felt like this book was very much so a teaser. It doesn't really explain a lot. It leaves so many questions in this like paranormal type mystery graphic novel that I feel like I just need to read more. And definitely the illustrations are great, and they're just flows panel to panel, and so I was never confused by anybody in the story. And so I'm ending with giving it a 4.25 out of 5. The next book I finished happens to be Every Heart a Dora by Shannon Maguire. It is a very beautiful story about what happens to the kids when they return to humanity, when they return after these fantastical adventures. And the main character is a girl named Nancy who's going to this boarding school that allows these special kids to cope with going back to the human realm and trying to find their way in normalcy, or find their way back to their special secret realm that they want to go back to. I do have to say that this story, I loved it so much, but I wanted more. This is really short. It's only about 60 pages. And so you get a lot of this information and you learn a lot about all of these characters, but it's only like this fleeting moment in their life. And so I really just want more from this story, and I just really want more exposure to a lot of the characters. And I really just want to learn more about this type of magical system encompassing these doorways into these other realms that Shannon Maguire introduces. And so that's really all I can say is reading this, I loved it, but I really want more. And so I'm giving this a glorious 4.5 out of 5. And that brings me to the next book I finished, which was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This book, I knew it was going to be sad, and I expected to cry. I just didn't expect to get to the sad parts at work. So I was crying at work. It was a little embarrassing, but it's okay because this book was worth the tears. It takes place with a boy named Connor who is dreaming up of this monster, and he's dealing with things in his life that he's not quite ready to deal with. I thought that he was going to be this younger child, but he's actually a young teenager of about 13 years old. So that was a little bit different than what I was expecting on the story, and also the story was a little bit slow to start for me. But the story itself was so beautiful and heart-wrenching, and just really allows the reader, and especially young children, because this is supposed to be a children's story, to really encompass these types of struggles in their life. And so all in all, I really enjoyed this book, and I'm giving it a 4.25 out of 5. The next book I finished was, of course, Matilda by Roald Dahl. I've never actually read this book before as a child. I only watched the movie a bajillion times. So reading this book finally was so great, and I realized that there's stuff in the movie I preferred, but there's also stuff in the book I preferred. So it was really great seeing those differences and changes in the story, and so it was really great to read this. Sadly enough, I do have to say, as I said in the beginning of the video, that some of the pages were ripped out. It's kind of what I get for buying it for $1 at a yard sale, but it's also very, very sad. And for my love of the story and just the nostalgic purposes of this book, I am giving it a 4 out of 5. So the next 2 books I read were Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found by Lewis Carroll. I have to say that I'm so glad I reread Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, because last year I did the audio version and I completely hated it. But reading the story, being in this whimsical, crazy, obscure, like, just nonsensical world was so fun, and I definitely really loved Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Through the Looking Glass was even more bizarre, and I didn't quite understand what was going on half the time. They're really great, really funny tales, and they're just very weird, and so it was really enjoyable to read these children's tales. And so I am going to give Alice's Adventures in Wonderland a 4 out of 5, and Through the Looking Glass a 3 out of 5 for a collective 3.5 out of 5. And so before I know it, I am all finished with the 9 books I finished in July. Sadly enough, I did not finish Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I really, really wanted to, but didn't happen. I only got 3 chapters of the way through it on audiobook. Another book I didn't quite get to was Perish by Shannon Cranecamp. She's my friend, and this is a paranormal fantasy story about these ghost hunters that go on a ghost hunting adventure. I am going to read this book very, very soon, and I cannot wait to do so. It was my goal to finish A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I have already done so. So wait for my review on it as I still collect my thoughts on the story. But basically it is about a multi-dimensional idea of 4 different types of Londons, and there's a special type of magician known as a blood magician named Kel who can travel through these different dimensions. And then we have a thief named Delilah Bard who wants to one day be a pirate, and through issues they collide and trouble stirs up, and there's this dark magical presence happening in the story. The next book in my plans for August, which I'm currently reading, is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, so I can finish Farah's story and get to the rundown, the lowdown of everything that was happening at the end of A Court of Mist and Fury. I am not sure if this is a magical retelling. People have said it's a retelling of Helen of Troy. Other people have said it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I'm not exactly sure which one it is, and I'm just really excited to continue on. I am about 1/3 of the way through currently, and I hope to finish it soon. The other 2 books I plan on reading and hope I get to happen to be The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh, which is book 2 of The Wrath and the Dawn, just to finish out the series, and I really want that conclusion of Scheherazade and Khalid. And the next one happens to be Night Study by Maria V. Snyder. This is book 2 in her Soulfinder trilogy. I'm so excited to read this and just really get a handle of all of the mayhem in Yelena and the rest of the gang's life currently. So there we have my big all-encompassing TBR for August. Please let me know in the comments down below what books you finished in July and what books you happen to be reading in August, so I can get some fabulous recommendations down below. Before I go, I must tell you that fall semester is brewing, and I've got to change my upload schedule to Sundays. So I will be posting every single Sunday, and I will do my best, my very best, to also upload continuously every Wednesday. If you don't see it on Wednesday, it will be there Thursday morning if I have to kick myself in the butt to do so. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. Goodbye!